You have me. I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me? Yeah, there we go. Well, I'm not going to rant about it. I can't get over John Cooper whining and crying in the press conference. Says, I'm too sad to talk. He's been in the National Hockey League a long time. I would say that there was 100+ infractions missed during that hockey game, either missed or not called. They choose not to call them. I mean, toward the end of regulation time, there was a Colorado player tripped right in front of the net. There was no call. I mean, so stop whining about what officials do. But all of the replays I've seen is, yeah, there were 6 guys in the ice, but the 6th guy was McKinnon, and his foot was on the gate, facing in the other direction. Well, if that's too many men on the ice, you can no longer change on the go. Make the rule you can only change at faceoffs, because that happens constantly. And anybody who's been to a UND game or an NHL game, players wander to the change. The puck's on the other end of the ice and they wander to the back end of the bench. I mean, if you counted that as too many men on the ice, that's all it would be all night long.
Right.
So to whine and moan about that, what he should have been whining and moaning about is the fact that his team couldn't get it out of its own end in the overtime. Have you seen a team blitzed like Colorado blitzed Tampa in that overtime? Did Tampa get the puck out 3 times before the goal was scored? I'm not even sure they did.
You know, the one thing though, Scott, you know, you watch this Colorado Avalanche hockey team, I think they're so good at getting to the overtime because they know they're going to blitz you right away. 1 minute, 2 minutes into overtime, they've been scoring goals and winning games in overtime. They've done that on a regular basis. I don't think they're afraid of overtime. And, you know, and you look at this hockey team, Kadri injured, had thumb surgery. He's out of the lineup for 3 or 4 games, comes back with a finger in a cast, and he scores the game-winning goal. That team appears to be getting healthier, and the team that's getting less healthy every shift is the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, yeah, and that's a problem. First of all, I don't think they have a hope. Tampa doesn't have a hope in Colorado. No, I said the Rangers wouldn't get out of the first round, and I was wrong there, but the Rangers aren't playing anymore either. Here's the one thing I'll take away from that overtime. There might have been 20 NHL general managers, including the guy in St. Paul, Minnesota, who probably started watching this series by saying to himself, you know, I might only be 1 or 2 players away from a Stanley Cup contender. And if they watched that overtime last night, I'll bet they walked away from their TV saying, I'm not 10 players away from being a Stanley Cup contender. Because that Avalanche team was so dominant in that overtime. I mean, they played a nice road game to get there and then completely ran the show in overtime. And Tampa, which is a remarkably good hockey team, they beat the Rangers, a tremendous, tremendous hockey team. They beat Carolina, they beat Florida. I mean, that's a good team. And in that overtime, they didn't even look like they were in the same league. They looked like the East Coast League against the Colorado Avalanche. And boy, does that say something about the speed and the size and the aggressiveness and the positioning. I mean, I don't suppose Bill Guerin's sitting in Minnesota saying to himself, boy, am I ever glad we got rid of Darcy Kemper or didn't keep Darcy Kemper. Am I ever glad he's someplace else? Because I don't think he had to do anything in the overtime at all. I think one save he made. I mean, the reality is that team is extremely good. It is better than everybody else. And I look just back at the Jet season, the team that didn't make the Stanley Cup. They got whipped 7-1 by Colorado in Colorado in the first time they played them. Then they lost 6-3 in Colorado. Then they lost 5-4 in overtime in Winnipeg and then whipped Colorado 4-1 in Winnipeg when it mattered more to Winnipeg than it did to the Avalanche. I thought in that game, Winnipeg might have had a chance if they'd slipped into 8th place and got to play the Avalanche in a series, they might have a chance to make it go 6. And I also thought that Tampa might have a chance to make it go 6 in this series after that really nice 6-2 win in Game 3. But that wasn't the same hockey team that played in Game 4. That's the team that's going to win the Stanley Cup on Thursday night.
I had sent you a little message about some of the topics of conversation for this particular episode, and you have been around a number of Stanley Cup finals in your career, a number of them. Walking by the dressing rooms of the teams that win, and of course the teams that lose. You walk into those dressing rooms, you look at the bodies of these guys. Tell me what 67 additional games in the playoffs for the Lightning over the last 3 or 4 seasons. They played an additional season of hockey amongst that, the 72 regular season, plus then all those other games. Tell me about the physical condition of these players when it comes to this point in the playoffs. They are so beat up. What do they look like? Does it look like, death swarmed over?
No, it doesn't. And I'll tell you why. These guys are in such remarkable shape, and they are so mentally tough. And that's the one thing. Darren Helm of the Colorado Avalanche, when he played in Detroit, said to me, the toughest game on earth is hockey. And it's the toughest because there's always somebody in the American Hockey League trying to take your job and will take your job if you're not a top 6 forward.
Yeah.
They are always mentally ready to play. And those that aren't are playing in the American Hockey League. They are physically amazing athletes. And we're going to have Kelvin Check on to talk about junior players. I mean, to be a good hockey player today, you have to be in the kind of condition that didn't exist when guys like Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita played. And they went to training camp to get in shape after a summer of working at the golf course or at the men's store selling cars, where they all had summer jobs in those days. And so they would get in shape once the season started. And I remember when I started covering teams, one of the things you noticed, you walked into the dressing room, a guy was having a couple of darts after the game. That kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. The bodies are temples. These guys are in remarkable physical condition. So they will say to you after the series is over, well, I had 2 broken ankles, 2 broken wrists, and a dislocated shoulder, but I played the series. And that's the mentality they have when they go into it. These guys they're just remarkable. I mean, think about what they do. They cycle the puck for 30 seconds. And about every second turn, they get hit.
Yep.
And they keep doing that and then get off the ice. It's not just the physical beating they take, but the mental beating, because as you cycle the puck, nothing's happening. You're not scoring a goal. You're not making a play. You're trying to get yourself into a situation where you can do that. And these guys do this all night long, every shift. I'm sure they're beaten up. Every team talks about a guy that they have who's played with knee meniscus shot and shoulder shot and his wrists are broken. But they get this far in the Stanley Cup because they are so mentally tough that they get there. And the same thing, I'll tell you what, same thing goes for Super Bowl players that I've talked to. These guys are all beaten up. Yeah. And it is a physical grind, not just 82 games, but the playoffs. And it's not a game for old guys. You'll notice that over the years, a lot of old guys aren't winning anymore. The stars are young guys come playoff team. They've got the legs at the end. And the young players in this series have been tremendous, I think. Just, you got to be 24, 25, 26. You can't be 35, 36 anymore and be really successful in the playoffs unless you're Sidney Crosby.
Well, that's the voice of Scott Taylor. This is Game on Hockey, a special edition on 790 KFGO 104.7 FM on the World Wide Web as well as on YouTube Live. So if you want to tune in and see our suntan faces, you certainly can go ahead and do so. I know one thing, Scott, that I enjoy. Driving to the studio when it's not January, getting out of the car. The car's air conditioned, of course. You feel a little warmth walking in. I'm wearing shorts. I love the fact that I'm going to walk out. The sun's going to be shining, and it will be a beautiful summer day. And summer, as we know, is short, but it's spectacular in this neck of the woods. So it's pretty awesome. We will be joined. Obviously, we have a guest coming up here in the next segment, and Scott will introduce him. We're going to take a quick break before we do that. However, we will be joined by Zach Whitecloud, former Manitoba Junior Hockey League player, former Bemidji State defenseman. Now a defenseman for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. We'll get a great discussion with Zach about his travails through youth hockey to the National Hockey League and a career that's, pretty impressive one as well. But when we come back, we'll be talking Manitoba Junior Hockey League. We'll be talking opportunities for players down here to go to Niverville, Manitoba, and maybe start their career to jump to the NCAAs. We'll be back. We'll take a quick break. From the Nilles Law Firm Studios, you are listening to Game on Hockey on 790 and 104.7 KFGO.
Calvin,
Well, it is a beautiful June night. No wind for a change. The lakes will be calm. So if you're out there, enjoy the opportunity to get on those boats. Enjoy it because I think the wind will crank up and it's supposed to cool off for the weekend. So enjoy it while it's here. From the Nillis Law Firm studio, you are indeed listening to a special edition of Game on Hockey. And one thing that Scott Taylor and I do on a regular basis is try to find places or help you find places, whether you're a Minnesota kid, a North Dakota kid, a South Dakota kid, a Montana kid, somewhere to go play the game of hockey so you can take the step to the next level. Obviously, college is a goal of many of you. Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, Scott, pretty successful year of advertising with us and telling their story, and we have some youngsters heading that direction. We have an opportunity for them right now to talk Manitoba Junior Hockey League and the opportunities. We've had Steinbach Huskies, that's the senior league team that I played on way back.
You played against them, didn't you?
Yeah, yes, I did. But the Steinbach Pistons of the Manitoba Junior League, their coach was on, and I'll let you introduce our next guest, Scott.
Our next guest is Kelvin Check. He is the new head coach and general manager of the Niverville Nighthawks, the expansion team in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. And, oh, by the way, I was going to say to you when you talked about going to the studio in shorts,
yep.
People wonder why Steven Stamkos didn't leave Tampa to go play in Toronto.
Oh, gosh.
Because he gets to play golf every day before practice.
Gee, how about that new coach of the Florida Panthers? Same
how about
situation.
That guy? He went from frigid to human in a hurry, didn't he?
Yeah, Paul Maurice, now the head coach of Florida. There's so many topics to go on, which we can go in different directions. We won't even get to talk to Kelvin. Kelvin, get the heck off. We're going to keep on going. Go ahead, Scott.
The best part about Kelvin is where he is today. He's at his home on Pender Island in British Columbia, right on the Straits of Georgia, on a beautiful day. I can't imagine how marvelous it is there, Kelvin. I guess summer started.
Yeah, summer's just begun just in the last speaking of, you were asking me if there's anything I need to do, and yeah, there's 19 different calls every single day. So that's my assistant general manager calling saying we need to work, we need to get some stuff done, stop messing around. But yeah, that's a typical day here. It's nice, and it just stopped raining a couple days ago, and it's sunny, so I can sit down by the water and talk on the phone and do some work. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Now you're looking for players. You come into an expansion team, and it's kind of tough for you in Manitoba because every team in the league has a 50-player list. They got fences around a lot of guys. So you have to walk into this thing sort of empty, and you've been able to sign a number of players. But part of what you can do is have 6 American players on your roster, correct?
Yep, that's right.
And you have signed a number of them. Tell us who you've signed, because I know you signed a kid from Roseau and I think a kid from Warroad. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we've so the funny thing about it is when we joined the league, it's common to call a new team an expansion team. But like the Cranbrook Bucks and the BCHL, we're not actually an expansion team because there's no expansion. So there's we had no mechanism to go and pluck players from existing teams. So like you said, with the 50-man list system, teams have those 50 people protected. So we had to go outside of the province to find players. So down south, it's funny, we signed a few kids from BC and Alberta early on, but then the kid from Warroad you're referencing, Carson Reed, he's actually more of a local because he's only an hour away. Whereas I know the drive from the islands here back to Niverville is 25 hours. Going uphill. So, we talk, it's 6 American players, but it's, Carson's from nearby, Isaac Rentmeester, who we signed out of Minnesota as well, Gavin Gunderson, and then Zach Kennett is another one. So yeah, it's a different country, and we kind of had to go through it on my last MJHL stop with a kid named Connor Gallagher. And it was tricky, but there was a global health crisis going on. So hopefully that's all behind us. And, but yeah, it's a viable option for these guys to come, and they want scholarships at the end of the day. And we encourage them to be where their feet are and be a good player at the junior hockey level first. And we'll see what happens after that.
Well, you talk about the geography. Niverville, Manitoba is 30 kilometers or about 18 miles south of the city of Winnipeg. So someone who might be in Grafton, North Dakota, Warroad, Minnesota, Roseau area, you're basically an hour and a half. So you have the opportunity to watch that. He's playing games in Winnipeg or playing games in Niverville. Talk about the city of Niverville itself. What does it offer to, obviously for someone who wants to go to school and play junior hockey as well?
Biggest thing it offers is that it's that authentic small town Canadian junior hockey experience. It's It's about 30 minutes south of the city, so it's far enough away that people aren't leaving town all the time to go into the city for their entertainment and whatnot. But you can, you can go to the movies, or you can go and watch the Jets, or you can go and watch the Moose or a Bombers game, whatever you need to do. But for the most part, on Friday, Saturday night, especially when it's cold, people don't want to hop on the highway and drive into town. So that's great for us because we've got, geography wise, it's perfect. And then what I can tell you about Niverville is, Niverville is its people, and it's so incredibly welcoming. And, that place is the reason that it's called Friendly Manitoba. They like to have fun. They like to party. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw some pictures of the fair there last weekend, and it's just always a good time, and it's always friendly people. And people have been there long enough that they actually have their own little catchphrases. They say "welcome here," which I don't know. I'd never heard that before. It's not really a big thing, but multiple people have said that. People who don't know each other have said that to me. So it's just a cool little place, and it's a fast, quickly growing community. And they're so pumped you wouldn't even believe it. For
population around 4,000, correct?
No, you probably checked that 2 weeks ago, but it's 6,500 now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
growing quickly, right, Scott?
Yeah, it's becoming a bedroom community for Winnipeg. I don't think there's any question about that. And it's a great place if you wanted to take a couple of university courses. The university is actually a lot closer than Winnipeg. University of Manitoba is only about 25 minutes from Niverville.
Yeah, it's right there, and I know Mike Sarant from my time at UBC, and we've had a few conversations. There's that's a viable option too for kids to move on and to play hockey there. But Mike isn't in charge of the schooling part of things there. But it's what an awesome opportunity for us to bring guys in who need to want to take a course or two. Most things you can do online anyways, but if they need to pop in and pick something up, then it's right there.
Just have to remember, when you start taking those college courses, you have 5 years to finish the 4. So once you start, there are rules to follow as well. And one guy named Dave Haxtell got caught in that back in his day. He actually had his career cut quite short at University of North Dakota because of that. He had to leave the school because he had started college in Alberta and didn't quite know the rules. So there are some rules to follow. So that's a good point. But the other option too, like you just said, and Scott will agree, University of Manitoba, University of Saskatchewan, there are very good programs north of the border. Opportunities to continue playing if you can't get to the D1, D3 level down here.
Yeah, there's, when players come, for the most part, this past few months has been recruiting a lot of 17-year-olds, a lot of guys coming out of U18. And so they're just leaving high school. So there's just not a ton of knowledge out there, especially out west. Here, there's not a lot of Division III chatter. People don't know what that's all about. It's either Western Hockey League or I need to go Division I, which that's great. We all want to do that. I wanted to play in the NHL, but they didn't let me do that. So there are so many different paths for guys. U Sports, like I mentioned, I spent 4 years at the University of British Columbia, and we recruited primarily out of the Western Hockey League. And, so I've seen players go both paths, but to get into a junior A program and open those doors south of the border, is just monumental, especially for these kids who grew up not really knowing a ton about it. They might have heard of North Dakota and Harvard, but there's hundreds of different schools at the Division I and Division III and the ACHA level. So for us, it's about, number one, it's about character and compete. And then once they get to us, then it's about those habits off the ice, and they're a good player, then everything breaks right and they get that opportunity to go to school. Great. But it's about living day to day and sticking with that process.
Okay. Tell us this, if someone's listening right now, they want to get in touch with you. How do they do so?
Well, what I would say is that for the most part, we have really good scouts. We have a super scout in Minnesota named Scott Oliver, who's an absolute legend, and he knows everybody, and he knows, he's an encyclopedia.
Everybody knows him. Yep.
Yeah, everybody knows him. And he knows everybody. So, and then my assistant general manager and director of scouting, Mike McCauley, same thing. These guys have been at it for years, and they've identified so many players. So it's unlikely that there are players out there who we haven't, aren't aware of, I guess. Only so many people can play, and that's the reality. But to get in touch with us, there's a website and there's our contact info and whatnot and things like that. But really, it'll be interesting in the next couple of years how things shake out. We're looking pretty good for this season. It's nice. It's June, and I can hopefully get some sleep and not wake up screaming in the middle of the night because I don't have a goalie. But, in the years to come, like you mentioned with Steinbach, Steinbach's done a good job of finding players,
right.
Not necessarily who live right in Steinbach. And I actually think your next guest spent some time at a Steinbach camp and didn't get to stick around. So everybody misses.
And those are the stories we're going to have a great time visiting with Zach Whitecloud about that. And Zach, Zach's here now. He's on the Zoom. If you get your microphone turned on, tell the audience about the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, Zach, and your experience, and where obviously it has led you through Bemidji State and now to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Tell us about the quality of play in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League.
Yeah, that's a long time ago for me. Now, I think it was 2016, maybe. But for me, the MJHL was a place for me where I could kind of work on my skill and, obviously get my feet wet with the junior ranks. And albeit I didn't think, there was actually the Leslie brothers who, Chad was a scout and Troy was our head coach. And Chad had put me on their protected list, I think halfway through my last year of the AAA league. And, I never had, I never thought I would make it in the junior A league. I just wasn't that good of a player yet at that point. So I had a big summer and then, kind of worked my way into the camp and worked my way into a roster spot. So, no, they were huge in my development. Verdun was a place, obviously, as you guys know, a small town. There was ice available to me at 7 a.m. before our scheduled 10 o'clock practice. And, I would be out there at whatever it was, 7:30 in the morning before school and working on whatever with one of the coaches we had there or skating on my own, whatever it was. So, Verdun provided me with the resources to get better every day and provided me with an environment where, I wasn't, kind of looked down upon because I was putting in the work. It was something that my coaches preached that, there was time to get better and I took full advantage of that.
Well, there's an endorsement for the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. So if you're listening out there right now looking for opportunity, Niverville will also be a great choice. So thanks very much for being with us, Coach. We do appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break and come back. And Scott and I will carry on the little conversation with Zach about that trip, about being a late bloomer. I know I was one, but my bloom has fallen off a long time ago. His is still blossoming. We'll talk about that with Scott Taylor. Thanks, Coach. This is Game on Hockey. You're listening to from the Nilles Law Firm studio on the mighty 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. Thursday night. Summer's here. It's not as warm as it is in Vegas, I would anticipate, but we'll have that conversation with Scott Taylor. I'm Travis Dunn. This is a special edition of Game On Hockey on the Mighty 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. We appreciate our previous guests and our discussion about the National Hockey League playoffs, and Zach just disappeared, but he's coming back. And with that, we introduce Zach Whitecloud. He is a Manitoba native and a former Bemidji State Beaver, played for the great coach Sarah Torrey in Bemidji State, and now catapulted into a career in the National Hockey League with the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And with that, I'm going to let Scott carry on with the conversation.
Well, I want to be kind of national as we're coming up toward Canada Day.
Oh, yeah.
Zach just finished representing Canada at the World Championships, won a silver medal. And my first question has to be, how was the experience? And did you think the team would play as well as it did? Because I thought the team played tremendous hockey and you deserved to win it all.
Hey, yeah, there's obviously in those tournaments, I think, I've only heard from guys on their previous experiences. And, I got a lot of help from Shea Theodore and Alec Martinez and Mark Stone, countless other guys who have been to that tournament. Obviously, you're with, a lot of guys that you've never met before, and to kind of get familiar and get to know other guys' playing styles, kind of what their decision-making tendencies are and those sorts of things is obviously in a short time span. So, to answer your second part, I think, as a team, we played really well. And I think obviously under Claude Julien and Turgney and DJ Moore there, they did a fantastic job, molding us as a group and getting us to buy in and play a certain way. Right. And obviously when you go over there, there's a lot of different styles of hockey, different ways that coaches like to play. Some European teams, excuse me, have, different styles in the neutral zone, defensive zone, even going up the ice into the offensive zone. There's a lot of different styles that you see on a nightly basis. And I think for us, it was important for us to focus on, how we play, because obviously you can do all the video you want and those sorts of things. But, if you can't execute your own game plan, then, knowing what the other team's going to do is doesn't really matter in the first place. So overall, incredible experience. I mean, for me, it was something that I'll remember for, the rest of my life, getting to know the different guys around the league, and just, getting to see different parts of the world. I think that was a cool part. I have a great appreciation for Finland now, the cuisine and, what they do in their country and how things work. And then obviously, like I told you before, we got to make a little couple pit stops on the way back afterwards. So that was a bonus on top of it.
What is the process for being chosen to that team? You've just finished your season in Vegas. You get the call from Hockey Canada. And what does it feel like to put on the Team Canada jersey? Was this your first opportunity to play for your country?
I'd say the first legitimate opportunity. Yeah. I had a chance in college. It was my second year. And there was a tournament called the Karjala Cup that was in actually Helsinki and Bern, Switzerland. And that was for the pre-Olympic tournaments for the Olympic team. So I played in that tournament and obviously didn't make the team, but I got a little taste of kind of what, how things work around the Team Canada national program and things like that, and got to meet, the people within the organization itself that typically go from tournament to tournament. Those obviously people don't change from tournament to tournament. It's pretty consistent with whether it's, the coaching staffs, the training staffs, the media staff, all that. And then obviously, 3 or 4 years later now, getting my first real taste of, with Team Canada. So, obviously I got the phone call after we had unfortunately missed the playoffs. And, I received a call from Shane Doan and he had said that he would like me to join the team and go over. Well, he asked if I would want to. And, for me, I jump on any opportunity to kind of go and play hockey. So, and obviously more so with your national team, which, doesn't get to happen very often. Right. And obviously with the World Championship, you hope as an NHL player, you never see that tournament, because that means you're playing deep into the playoffs. And, but when you do get that chance, I'm grateful that I was able to go over there and help contribute in any way I could. So.
That's the voice of Zach Whitecloud. He's a defenseman for the Las Vegas Golden Knights of the National Hockey League, a former Bemidji State Beaver, and as well as Scott Taylor. This is a special edition of Game on Hockey on 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. Let's go back to that day when you're skating on the ice at 7 o'clock in the morning in Verdun, Manitoba, trying to crack the lineup of the Verdun Oil Kings, correct? Is that the name of the team? I believe it was. You said something that every player fights to find, believing that you belong. And you can play at that level. When did that happen in Verdun? When did that happen at Bemidji State? And when did that happen with the Las Vegas Golden Knights when you said, okay, I belong, I believe in myself, I can do this?
Yeah, that's an in-depth question. And
yeah, it is.
It's a really good question that you can ask, any player. Because there's different scenarios that guys go into, right? And for me, every single year that I moved up a level or whatever it was, I was never guaranteed spots. And partially largely I'd say that's the reason why, I am where I am today, is because, I never went into a training camp. I never went into a season or an off season working out, trying to get better in the summer, knowing that I had that guaranteed spot. I've had to work for everything that I've earned throughout my career. And I'd say most guys do. Obviously, they're your top tier elite guys that can, go in and crack a team. And obviously, they're playing on the first power play and playing the most minutes, scoring goals, all those sorts of things. And that's just not in my that's not my niche. So for me, I had to earn everything I had. And honestly, in Verdun, those are like I said before, it's a long time ago. So I think the first time that I kind of knew that I had obviously made the team and was going to be a regular was obviously when I got to sign my billet family. Usually when you get that information, that's good news. It's never bad news. So I got to move in with my billet family and got orientated with them. And, they're still, I consider them my second parents to this day. They're Jack and Karen Forster, who took me in and they had two daughters who are much older than I was. So they never had a son. So I think they kind of took me under their roof and treated me like, I was the son that, they never had. And I'm thankful to those people every day of my life because, without them and kind of what they did and how they supported me and how they helped me kind of get through days of junior hockey were huge for me. And I can't say enough good things about them. I still, try to keep in touch with them as much as I can. And obviously everyone's lives get busy and sometimes you lose communication every now and again, but those are people that I, greatly appreciate in my life because Karen was one of the big motivators for me in terms of eating healthy and sticking to certain things that kind of help me perform on a regular basis. And although my billet dad, Jack, was more of a chicken fingers and French fries kind of guy, he got on board with it too, as best as he could, because he knew that, I love to play hockey, perform. And Karen was a huge advocate for eating healthy and bettering our lifestyles and things like that. So to have her on board and, ultimately have Jack on board with, kind of what we were trying to, what goals we were trying to reach, obviously with them through me, Karen was a runner and loved to, stay in shape and do all those sorts of things and eat well. So having her push me to do things better in that aspect was huge for me. And then obviously, I spent the first year there and Verdun's only 45 minutes down the road from where I grew up. So I was out there pretty much every second weekend in the summer to go and spend a weekend with them and check in and see how they were doing. And even during the season, as much as my mom doesn't like to hear it, I pretty much never went home, even though it was the quickest drive down the highway. Just because I love being there so much. I love being with Jack and Karen. And eventually I ended up getting a job with the Scarf family, Rita, Chad, Danica, and Cade. And I was working on a beef farm for them. And I consider them my second billet family. So, they helped me a lot too, gave me an opportunity to work and learn about, how to ranch and those sorts of things and gain a new appreciation for that lifestyle. And, I still keep in touch with them all the time today. So the moral of the story is junior hockey creates so many relationships and so many opportunities, not just in hockey, but outside to, go out and experience the community, meet people, get to know people, and get to know a community other than your own, that what you knew growing up. And I think that's so important for kids nowadays, where, a lot of kids now are so dialed in on hockey, so focused on, just playing hockey. And I think junior A, and, obviously I'm sure the Western League does it too, but these smaller cities that junior A players play in, it's such a good opportunity to get out and know the community, go to schools, read to kids, interact with people at businesses, and just get to know your fans. Cause you got, we had 1,000, 1,500 fans coming to our games. And, I like to say that I tried my best to get out and meet almost everyone and be in the community and be a part of a small town atmosphere. Cause when you play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, those people are carving out time to come and support you in that small town. And I gained a great appreciation for, how close those small towns are. So I think it's important for kids to recognize that side of it. It's not just hockey, right? It's, these junior A clubs aren't ran just by money from owners. They're ran by the community, people showing up to games, supporting, boosters, all those sorts of things. So that's something that, I learned in junior A, and I'm talking long about Verdun, but, it taught me a lot of things about life that are so important, going forward. So Verdun always has a special place in my heart. Every time I get back to Brandon, I try to make sure I get out there and, see old friends, see Jack and Karen, Chad and Rita, and, see people that I used to know in the community that, came to my games when I think the team first started in 14, 15, 16. So, all those people have a special place in my heart, and Verdun's, a place for me that I call home. So, and then my second season, I was lucky enough to obviously get a scholarship to Bemidji State under Tom Serratori. And again, going in there, I think I was slated to be the 8th or 9th D-man on that roster. And then once we started our preseason skates, because you don't have exhibition games in college, we were going through those, and I think it was 4 or 5 skates in, I was working the first power play and first penalty kill, and playing with my D partner, actually, who's from Steinbach, or LaBroquerie, I guess, Justin Beaudry.
Yeah.
So him and I were D partners for our 2 years there. He was already a sophomore when I went in as a freshman. So I got to play with him for 2 years. And then long story short, I ended up signing as a free agent with Vegas after we lost out in playoffs after my second year. So Bemidji, I could talk long about Bemidji. It helped me gain an appreciation for what it is to be a man, and what it is to be a part of society, and how to go out and act the right way, treat people the right way, do all those sorts of things, and obviously how to be a hockey player. So Bemidji was good for me. It taught me a lot about life. It allowed me to figure out things about myself that I never knew before college, and as a hockey player and as a person. So and obviously here now. So
absolutely, that's the voice of Zach Whitecloud, a defenseman for the Las Vegas Golden Knights of the National Hockey League, from Manitoba. I have something in similar with Zach. I'm from Manitoba. That's about it. The talent part of the equation doesn't even equate at this point. But you're listening to a special edition of Game on Hockey with Scott Taylor, and Scott, fire away.
You went from Bemidji, signed with Vegas, but you went to Chicago, and you had a really good season in the American Hockey League. Tell us about the jump from college to the pros, the jump from college to the American League, and then from the American League to the National League. How big are those steps?
Yeah, each has their own varying steps, obviously, with different degrees. I think, going from college, I think the first, and obviously everyone knows the schedule. I think adjusting to the American League schedule from college is a bit easier, because in the American League, you're typically only playing, 2 or 3 games a week, whereas in the NHL, you could be playing up to 4 or 5. Depends on obviously your scheduling, but Bemidji to the American League was a bit easier. Obviously, you're going from playing against young men to obviously all ages, right? So, and these guys are pros. They know all the tricks and those sorts of things, and the same stuff you use in college isn't going to work in the pros. So, learning how to play the right way and play as a pro. I think what a lot of guys struggle with when they first get into, whether it's the American League or jumping into the NHL, is figuring out who you are as a player. Obviously college is a bit different. There's no fighting. There's no, obviously you're wearing cages. So, you kind of got to figure out who you are, what you're good at, what you aren't good at in terms of, whether you're a physical guy. If you're physical, can you be able to step up and be that physical presence, but, can you also fight? And those sorts of things. So you kind of got to gauge where you're at, figure out who you are, and then obviously develop into the system that you're going into. And, for me, I've always been more of a defensive side of the game kind of guy. And then as I kind of grew throughout pro, my full year in the American League, I kind of transitioned to that two-way guy. I was playing power play, killing penalties, and, playing upwards of 25, 30 minutes a night. So playing that first pair role and getting the big matchups, those sorts of things. And that was very valuable for me because that allowed me to, kind of see what I could do at that level. And obviously to be that same person at the NHL level, you're getting into the Victor Hedmans, the Makars, the Yosis, a lot of those big names, right? So, there's one of those guys on each team, and they're incredibly, incredibly good at what they do. So, you're not always going to be the same guy you were in the American League as you are going to be in the NHL. And I think, a lot of guys that put up points, there's guys that'll be the MVP of the American League one year, and then they'll be a fourth liner in the NHL. You never know, right? So you got to carve out different roles, and whatever you're asked to do, you got to be able to do, right? So, and then I think the jump from the American League to the NHL, I had a good full season in the American League, and then I got sent back down after camp. After I believe I broke my hand in camp, and went back, rehabbed, played till I think I played maybe 15, 20 games up until Christmas, and then got called up to Vegas just after the All-Star break, and then never left. So,
wow.
So Vegas is home now,
Yep.
and you've gone from a rookie midway through a season to a guy now who's playing 18, 19, 20, 21 minutes a game. How much work does it take to get there?
Yeah, there's a lot of obviously, just like anything in life, I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Hockey players live a good life and all those sorts of things, but obviously there is the work side to be put in. And like I said before, there are a lot of skilled guys that can get to the league and have it pretty easy from there. They're putting up goals and things like that, and that just wasn't my path. I had to put in a lot of hours in the summer, and hours that I didn't want to. I had to obviously cut off friendships that you may not have wanted to cut off, but focusing on, my goal was to, once I was able to kind of comprehend that the NHL was a goal that was in reach, obviously might have been on the top shelf, but, it was reachable. So, I'm one of those people where, if I want to do something, if I want to achieve a goal, I'm going to try and do everything I can to get there. So, for me, the NHL was one of those things where it was, the biggest challenge, I've ever faced in my life. So, when you look back at that, the things you went through and whatever it was, the heartaches, the ups, the downs, you can't really pick out certain things because it's, you're here now, you get to do what you love every single day. In the summer, I get to go and work out in the morning and skate as part of my job. And, I still get to be a kid every day. And it's something I try to make sure, and I get caught up in life, obviously, as everyone does. But you got to step back and look at it, quite a few times and make sure that, you're playing this game for fun. Obviously it is our job. We're obviously we're compensated to win hockey games and all those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, hockey's always been a game where people can come together from all walks of life and have fun playing it. And that's what's so beautiful about our game is that, no matter where you are, who you are, what background you're from, you can put on a pair of skates, grab a stick and puck and go out and play with everyone. So sometimes you got to step back and realize that this game is such a fun game, and you got to be so grateful to have the ability to play it. And I think that's what's important for me. That's what keeps me level, knowing that the game is meant to be played for fun. And like I said, there is a business side, and we all understand that. But at the end of the day, if you're not having fun playing the game, then you probably shouldn't be playing. So,
Hey, Zach, we could go on for another half hour, but we're running out of time. We sure do appreciate you coming on and giving a perspective. So if you're the guy out there listening today that, you know what, I don't know if I belong, keep believing in yourself because Zach Whitecloud did it. And so, you know what, put him on the shelf, put a picture of him on the wall and do what Zach Whitecloud did. Zach, sincerely appreciate you jumping on board. Last word, Scott.
Oh, this has been tremendous. Really, really great. But I wanted to know what the feeling of putting that Team Canada jersey on was like the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put into words, obviously. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, you dreamt of, scoring an Olympic goal or being whoever it was that you were trying to be. So, and lucky enough, they gave us a few jerseys to take home, and it's nice that I get to send some up. Easy, buddy. Get to send some up to my parents, and no, it's something I'll always cherish for the rest of my life. Whether I hopefully I don't get to do it again, obviously, but if I do get the chance, and then I'm always more than proud to put on the Maple Leafs. So.
Well, Zach, have a great summer out there in Las Vegas. We'll let you go. We sure appreciate you jumping on board. And you got a couple of big fans here on Game On, so we appreciate you being with us today.
All right. Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Zach Whitecloud. Scott, the epitome of class right there.
He's one of the great players in the National Hockey League. I don't care what anybody says about defensemen or Yossi and Makar and all these great players. This guy started from virtually nothing in Verdun. Nobody thought much of him. Tom Sartori, who we had on the show last year and spoke very highly of him, was kind of his first guy to say, this kid can play. He can really play. And he was the guy who gave him the chance, gave him the push, did all the work to get the scouts to come and watch him play.
Yeah, you did. You earned every bit of it.
And he goes to the NHL and doesn't play much. And now he's 22 minutes a night in the NHL.
Yeah. And he's been on Game On Hockey. He's hit the epitome of radio in this country.
Right at the top.
Hey, Scott, appreciate you jumping on board and taking on the toll of doing, a Game On in June, but maybe there'll be a few more opportunities before we start the next season, which will be late September when Game On hits it every Thursday. And of course, Friday is leading the UND men's hockey. With the last 15 seconds, Scott, you have a great rest of the June. May July be great. Be ready for that golf tournament in August. Get out and enjoy the beautiful summer days and Game On.
Will do. Jaden Perron's going to be a star for the UND Fighting Hawks.
That's our next conversation. With that, good night from the Nilles Law Firm Studios.